Earth had come a long way. Just a few decades ago, humanity was still fighting wars for survival, struggling to emerge from its own self-destructive habits. But now, things were different. The world had united, technology had advanced beyond anyone's wildest dreams, and humans were finally preparing to take their place in the galactic community. It wasn't just a dream anymore, it was a reality. The Galactic Empire, a powerful and technologically advanced civilization, had extended its hand to humanity. After years of tense negotiations, a peace treaty had been signed. This treaty was more than just a piece of paper. It was a symbol of humanity's arrival on the galactic stage. The Empire's representatives had agreed to end hostilities and allow Earth to become part of the Galactic Alliance. The Empire's fleet, which could destroy entire planets in the blink of an eye, would now stand beside humanity, guiding Earth toward a bright future. As the momentous signing ceremony took place, Ambassador Daniel Morgan, humanity's first representative, stood proudly aboard the flagship of the Empire. The Imperial flagship, a massive ship the size of a city, glimmered in the darkness of space. It was like a symbol of everything humanity had fought for: peace, progress, and power. The Empire's leaders, dignitaries from countless planets, gathered around the ambassador, shaking hands and exchanging pleasantries. Everyone was smiling. They believed this was the start of a new era. From Earth's perspective, the sight of the Empire's colossal flagship floating in space, an unstoppable force of nature, was both awe-inspiring and humbling. Lieutenant Sarah Harris, a young officer from Earth, stood with her hands gripping the railing at the edge of the observation deck. She gazed at the Empire's fleet in the distance, marveling at the sheer size and power of it. For years, humanity had looked up to these beings, envying their technological superiority. Now, they were going to be allies. Imagine what we could achieve together, Sarah thought to herself. She wasn't the only one who felt that way. Across Earth, people were already celebrating. Holographic messages flashed across the planet, with politicians and world leaders sharing the good news. Peace had been achieved. A new chapter for humanity had begun. But deep down, not everyone felt entirely at ease. A few voices whispered doubts about the Empire's true intentions, questioning whether a civilization so powerful could ever truly trust the humans they had once seen as little more than primitive creatures. Still, these fears seemed distant and insignificant, drowned out by the overwhelming joy of the moment. Just as the final signatures were put on the peace treaty, and as Earth's celebration reached its peak, something strange happened. Without warning, the lights on the flagship flickered. A sudden surge of static interrupted communications, causing confusion. Ambassador Morgan, standing in front of the Empire's officials, smiled nervously as the uneasy murmurs spread throughout the room. But he still believed this was a technical glitch. The Imperial representatives were visibly calm, almost too calm. Then, without any warning, the Empire's fleet turned. The peaceful silence of space was shattered by the sound of energy shields activating, the hum of weapons charging, and the bright flash of energy blasts lighting up the dark expanse. The Imperial flagship, which had been a symbol of cooperation, now became the weapon of humanity's destruction. "What's happening?" Sarah whispered under her breath, her heart racing. Her eyes widened as she saw the Empire's fleet, once poised to defend Earth, now engage in full-scale assault. Energy blasts tore into the nearby space stations, vaporizing them in an instant. The attack was so swift, so coordinated, it was as if it had been planned for years. The Empire's betrayal was immediate and overwhelming. Ships from every direction launched wave after wave of bombardments. Earth's once secure cities were now under attack. The shockwave of the energy blasts echoed across the atmosphere, causing earthquakes, fires, and explosions. The cities, which had once felt like the safest places on Earth, were being reduced to rubble before anyone could react. Through the viewports of the observation deck, Sarah saw the destruction unfold. Energy blasts shot through space, landing on Earth like lightning strikes. In seconds, entire cities disintegrated in a fiery glow. From space, it looked like Earth was burning, with smoke clouds rising into the atmosphere. Explosions lit up the skyline, while massive shockwaves rippled through the planet. The Empire's flagship, once a symbol of alliance, now hovered ominously above Earth, the source of humanity's destruction. On Earth, confusion and panic set in. The Defensive Command Center in New York was one of the first to respond. General Laura Martinez, an experienced military strategist, quickly mobilized humanity's limited defenses, but the task seemed impossible. Earth's fleet had been dismantled years ago, under the assumption that there was no need for military action in the wake of peace. Now the sudden attack left the planet vulnerable. Deploy the fighters, General Martinez ordered, her voice steady but filled with urgency. Fighter jets launched from Earth's remaining bases, but they were no match for the Empire's advanced ships. The human ships, which had been designed for exploration and defense, were now facing off against Empire warships equipped with laser cannons, plasma bombs, and cloaking devices. The Empire's ships were like giants, each one capable of wiping out Earth's defenses in minutes. The human fleet was outnumbered, outgunned, and outclassed in every way. Lieutenant Harris stood at the console, her fingers trembling as she tried to engage the emergency systems. All units, fall back to the atmosphere, she ordered, knowing that the only chance to survive was to escape to the safety of Earth's atmosphere. But as the Empire's warships tore through their defenses, it became clear that no place on Earth was safe. Back on the flagship, Ambassador Morgan was in disbelief. He had spent his whole life working toward this moment, negotiating peace with the Empire. He had been standing next to their leaders just moments ago, shaking hands. And now, this. Why? Why are they doing this? He asked, his voice filled with shock and confusion. The answer, however, was clear. The Empire saw humanity as a threat, a species that could one day challenge their dominance in the galaxy. They hadn't wanted peace with Earth. They had only used it as a strategy to weaken humanity's defenses before launching their attack. Now, they were executing their plan to exterminate the very species they had once welcomed. As Sarah watched in horror, the Empire flagship turned its focus on her location. Brace for impact. The warning came too late. Just as the lights on the ship flickered out, the massive Empire flagship's energy cannons fired a direct shot at their position. The view from the observation deck was filled with a blinding white light. The screen went dark. A single haunting question echoed through every mind. Why did they turn on us? The chaos that had followed the Empire's brutal betrayal left Earth in utter disarray. Buildings lay in ruins, communications were severed, and the world was plunged into a deep sense of loss and confusion. In just hours, the most powerful force humanity had ever known had become its greatest enemy. As survivors fled to underground shelters, the question that echoed in everyone's mind was the same. What now? In the midst of this confusion, there was one person who remained calm. Admiral Marcus Kane, one of Earth's most brilliant military strategists, was among the survivors. Kane had always been a symbol of strength for Earth's armed forces. His reputation as a tactician was unparalleled, but even he was stunned by the scale of the devastation. Kane was no stranger to loss. He had been through the death of loved ones, but nothing had prepared him for the destruction that had come so swiftly. His home city, New York, was now nothing but a smoldering crater. His family, his wife and children, were among the many lost in the initial wave of attacks. The grief weighed heavily on him, but it also ignited a fire of vengeance. When news of the surviving forces began to filter in, Admiral Kane wasted no time. He quickly gathered a group of engineers, scientists, and soldiers who had managed to survive the initial wave. His face, hardened by grief and resolve, was a beacon of leadership to those who had lost everything. In the makeshift command center, the group of survivors began their work. Dr. Elena Carter, a leading scientist who had worked on Earth's advanced defense technologies, was among them. She was studying the data retrieved from the Empire's attack, trying to uncover the true motive behind the brutal assault. As the team worked tirelessly, a shocking revelation came to light. The Empire had not attacked Earth out of fear, but because humanity had become a threat. Earth's rapid advancements in technology, especially in the fields of cloaking devices and energy weaponry, had caught the attention of the Empire. What had once been a powerful ally was now seen as a threat to the Empire's galactic rule. "They fear us, Marcus," Dr. Carter said quietly, looking at the data on her screen. "We've progressed faster than they ever anticipated. If we continue at this rate, humanity could disrupt their hold on the galaxy." Kane clenched his fists in frustration. The knowledge that Earth's rapid rise had led to this conflict only fueled his hatred for the Empire. It wasn't just a battle for survival anymore. It was a battle to protect everything humanity had built. "We can't let them win, Elena. We can't let them crush us before we even get a chance," Kane muttered, his voice low but filled with determination. As the news spread, Project Phoenix, a secret initiative that had been under development in the outer asteroid belt, was revealed as humanity's last hope. The project had been designed in case of a crisis just like this. Earth's greatest minds had been working in secrecy, constructing a fleet of advanced warships capable of challenging the Empire's superior forces. But there was a catch. The fleet was severely outnumbered. Earth's military resources had been decimated in the initial attack, and only a handful of ships from Project Phoenix were completed and ready for combat. Even with their advanced cloaking technology and powerful railguns, these ships were no match for the might of the Empire. "We have to act fast," Admiral Kane said, standing at the head of the operations table, looking at the holographic map of Earth's remaining defenses. "We can't just sit here and wait to be wiped out. If Project Phoenix is humanity's last chance, we're going to have to give everything we've got." While Kane and his team strategized, the Empire's surveillance network was already scanning the skies for any signs of resistance. Using their advanced AI technology and sensors, the Empire was tracking the movements of every human ship, every human settlement. Their massive fleet hovered in orbit, while drones and warships patrolled the skies, ensuring no one could escape. The Empire's surveillance system was nearly perfect. They had eyes everywhere. It was only a matter of time before the Phoenix fleet would be discovered. "We don't have the luxury of time," Dr. Carter said, her voice sharp. "If we don't get the fleet off the ground now, they'll find us and destroy us before we have a chance to fight back." For Admiral Kane, this fight had become personal. It wasn't just about humanity's survival anymore. It was about the loss of his family, his home, and everything he had worked for. His grief fueled his determination, and he wasn't about to let the Empire erase everything that Earth had achieved. "I'll make them pay," Kane said, his voice steely with resolve. "No one takes everything from me and gets away with it." Elena, who had become one of the few people Kane trusted, placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. She had known the Admiral for years and understood the depth of his pain. She, too, had lost much in the Empire's attack. Her family's research facility was destroyed in the first wave, but she found solace in knowing that she wasn't alone in this fight. Together, they were humanity's last hope. "I'm with you, Marcus," Elena said softly. "We'll take them down together." As the preparations for the launch of the Phoenix fleet began, humanity's advanced technology came into play. Cloaking technology, developed under the radar for years, would allow the warships to hide from the Empire's prying eyes. The ships could blend into the background of space, making them nearly invisible to the Empire's surveillance system. This technology, once considered an untested prototype, was now humanity's most valuable asset. In addition to cloaking, the Phoenix fleet was armed with railguns, an innovation humanity had developed to rival the Empire's devastating energy weapons. The railguns were capable of launching projectiles at nearly the speed of light, making them a deadly weapon against the Empire's ships. These weapons, combined with advanced energy shields and AI-driven targeting systems, were Earth's best shot at fighting back. "We've got everything we need," Kane said, surveying the warships in the hangar. "We just need to make sure we can get them to the battlefront before the Empire finds us." With the final details in place, the fleet's launch preparations began. The survivors of Earth's military and scientific community gathered to witness the rise of Project Phoenix. They knew the odds were stacked against them, but they also knew that humanity's future depended on what they did in the next few hours. "We're going to show the Empire that they made a huge mistake," Kane said as he stepped onto the command deck of one of the Phoenix warships. "This is our fight now. We will not let them destroy everything we've worked for." As the Phoenix fleet began its journey into deep space, the survivors knew they were heading into the heart of the Empire's territory. Their mission was clear. They had to strike fast and hit hard before the Empire could stop them. But the path ahead was fraught with danger. The Empire was relentless, and they wouldn't rest until Earth was completely under their control. The Phoenix fleet had been a symbol of humanity's last hope. After months of preparation, secrecy, and building strength, the time for a counterattack had arrived. Admiral Marcus Kane and his team knew that every moment counted. Earth's survival depended on bold, decisive actions. Actions that could change the course of the war against the Galactic Empire. The first mission was a covert strike against a heavily guarded supply convoy. These convoys, used by the Empire to transport weapons, energy cells, and food supplies to their frontline ships, were vital to their continued dominance over the galaxy. If Earth could seize this convoy, it would gain critical resources and, more importantly, expose weaknesses in the Empire's supply lines. This could turn the tide of the war. But there was a problem. The convoy was heavily guarded. Empire destroyers, some of the most advanced ships in the galaxy, surrounded the convoy like a protective wall. The odds of successfully attacking it without losing the entire fleet were slim. Yet, despite the risks, Admiral Kane knew they had no choice but to take the gamble. The Phoenix fleet's cloaking technology was the key to the mission's success. With it, their warships could move through the dark expanse of space without being detected by the Empire's surveillance systems. The cloaking devices had been developed in secret, and while they were still in the experimental phase, they were humanity's best chance at evading the Empire's powerful sensors. As the fleet entered the mission area, the warships were as silent as shadows, their engines powered down to avoid detection. Kane's voice crackled through the comms, calm but filled with urgency. "Stay sharp, everyone. The Empire won't let us get away with this." The convoy appeared before them, a massive collection of transports surrounded by a ring of Empire destroyers. At first glance, it seemed like an impossible target. But with the cloaking technology in place, the fleet's ships slipped unnoticed into position. The tension in the air was palpable. The mission was a delicate one, and any mistake could lead to total annihilation. The Phoenix warships approached with eerie silence, their cloaks keeping them invisible to the Empire's sensors. But the moment they moved in to strike, the cloaking devices were deactivated, revealing the ships to the Empire's watchful eyes. The first volley of fire hit hard. Space erupted with violent explosions as laser beams and energy pulses lit up the void. The Empire's destroyers fired back, their weapons shaking the very fabric of space itself. The fleet's warships retaliated with their railguns, launching deadly projectiles at the incoming enemy ships. Close-quarter battles raged. The Empire's fighters darted through space, fast and agile, attacking with precision. Earth's warships, while technologically advanced, were outnumbered and faced a far superior enemy. But the humans fought with a desperation and resolve that the Empire had not anticipated. Energy shields crackled and exploded, sending bright flashes of light across the void. The enemy fire was relentless, and for every shot that hit an Empire destroyer, 2 more came crashing into the Earth warships. But Admiral Kane's tactics were flawless. He had planned this strike with precision, using every advantage humanity had. Explosions echoed through space, the flash of light so intense that it lit up the nearby asteroids. Earth's warships fought tooth and nail, blasting enemy ships out of existence while trying to protect their critical supply haul. The convoy was no longer just a target, it was their lifeline. But victory came at a high price. Amid the chaos, a young soldier named Bonner, barely out of his teens, was piloting one of the Phoenix fleet's smaller ships when disaster struck. One of the Empire's fighters locked onto Bonner's ship, and despite his skillful, evasive maneuvers, a single blast hit his vessel. "Bonner, get out of there," shouted one of his fellow soldiers over the comms. But it was too late. The explosion tore through the ship in an instant. Bonner died heroically, his last thoughts focused on ensuring the mission's success. He had intentionally veered his ship into the path of the enemy fighter, causing a massive collision that bought enough time for his comrades to finish the battle and secure the convoy. Admiral Kane, who had come to care for his soldiers like his own children, was shaken. Bonner was just one of many soldiers who had given their lives for this mission, but his sacrifice hit Kane hard. Bonner's death wasn't just a loss for the fleet, it was a loss for humanity's cause. Kane stood silently in the command deck of the flagship, feeling the weight of every life that had been lost. "We've won, but at what cost?" He whispered to himself, the image of Bonner's face haunting his thoughts. The victory was bittersweet. Despite the heavy losses, the mission was a success. The convoy, with its precious supplies, was secured. As the survivors of the Phoenix fleet regrouped, they received the much-needed resources to continue the fight against the Empire. More importantly, the Empire's weak points had been exposed. Vulnerabilities in their supply chain, their fleet's communication networks, and most crucially, the location of the Empire's flagship. The supplies they had seized would allow the Phoenix fleet to repair their warships and replenish their energy reserves. It was a small victory, but a crucial one, and it had given them something more, a fighting chance against the Empire's overwhelming might. As Admiral Kane stared out at the stars through the command center's viewports, he realized this was just the beginning. The Empire had been dealt a significant blow, but they were far from finished. Kane knew that if humanity was going to have a real chance at winning this war, they would need to use every ounce of ingenuity, bravery, and sacrifice they had left. "This is just the start," Kane muttered to himself, his gaze hardening. "We'll keep pushing, no matter the cost. We'll make them regret ever thinking they could destroy us." With the success of their mission, the Phoenix fleet had gained something more than just supplies. They had gained vital intelligence. They now knew where the Empire's flagship was located, deep within their central command fleet, heavily guarded and surrounded by layers of defense. The next battle would be even more dangerous. The Empire would no longer underestimate humanity. With their flagship at stake, the Empire would be ready for a fight unlike anything humanity had faced so far. But one thing was certain: humanity would keep fighting. For every soldier like Bonner who had fallen, for every city destroyed, and for every soul lost in this war, humanity would push forward. After their victory in securing the convoy, the Earth fleet had one goal: to take down the Empire's flagship, the heart of the Empire's vast military might. The Empire had underestimated humanity before, but now they knew better. As the Phoenix fleet advanced, they were ready for the most dangerous battle yet. The Empire's flagship, known as the Dreadnought, was a towering behemoth. Its weapons were capable of destroying entire planets, and its shields were practically impenetrable. The Empire had expected the humans to retreat after the losses from the first battle, but humanity was not backing down. They were now more determined than ever to prove that they would not be crushed by the Empire's overwhelming power. Admiral Kane, grim and focused, stood before his crew, looking out over the massive fleet of warships. The ships gleamed in the vast expanse of space, each one ready for the greatest battle of their lives. He addressed his officers, determination in his voice. "We've come this far. This is our chance to end it. But we can't win with strength alone. We need to outsmart them. We need to use everything we have." The first shots were fired, and the entire battle unfolded with a bang. The Empire's fleet charged forward, a wall of energy and firepower aimed directly at the human forces. The sheer scale of the battle was almost incomprehensible. Massive space battleships and smaller fighter ships zoomed past each other, launching waves of devastating laser fire, while orbital bombardments rained down on both sides. But humanity was not going to fight conventionally. With their AI-assisted strategies, guerrilla tactics, and cloaking devices, the humans fought with precision and creativity. Their ships darted in and out of the asteroid fields, using the giant rocks as cover. It was a risky strategy, but it worked. As the Empire's destroyers tried to focus on their targets, the humans would strike from unexpected angles, launching surprise attacks that sent Empire ships tumbling into space. Energy beams crackled as both fleets exchanged fire. Explosions erupted across space, lighting up the dark void like fireworks. The Empire's ships, far larger and more heavily armed, fired relentlessly, but the humans used their speed, stealth, and strategy to outmaneuver them. Each move was a calculated risk, with Admiral Kane guiding the fleet through the chaos. Meanwhile, the Empire's commander, a cold and calculating leader named Admiral Valora, watched as the battle unfolded from the bridge of the dreadnought. She was known for her ruthless tactics, and she was determined to crush the human resistance once and for all. "Get them," she growled. "No mercy." Amid the battle's chaos, a critical turning point came when Dr. Elena Carter, the brilliant scientist who had been working on humanity's cloaking technology, found a way to disable the dreadnought's seemingly impenetrable shields. She had spent weeks working with a prototype AI weapon, a cutting-edge piece of technology that could send an electromagnetic pulse strong enough to disrupt the dreadnought's defenses. But the weapon was untested, and the risk was enormous. "Elena, are you sure about this?" Marcus asked over the comms, his voice full of concern. "Unsure," she replied, her voice calm despite the chaos around her. "This is our best shot. We need to take down those shields." Elena launched the AI weapon, a bolt of intense energy, directly at the flagship. The dreadnought's shields flickered for a moment as the pulse hit, but then the shields went down. It was a moment of pure triumph for humanity, but the cost was staggering. As the weapon discharged, Elena was hit by a retaliatory blast from an Empire destroyer. The force of the blast sent her ship spiraling out of control, crashing through space. Elena's voice was barely audible as the comms cut in and out. "Elena, no!" Marcus shouted, but it was too late. She was gone. The moment her death was confirmed, the entire human fleet felt the loss. Elena had been one of the few who had understood the true potential of humanity's tech, and her sacrifice had paved the way for the humans to defeat the flagship's defenses. Admiral Kane's heart ached as he processed the loss. Elena had been more than just a scientist to him. She had been a friend, a colleague, and a beacon of hope for the future. Now her death would fuel their determination even more. "We'll make them pay for this," he vowed, his eyes burning with a new fire. With the dreadnought's shields down, the human fleet saw a glimmer of hope. The final assault was now within reach. Marcus Kane gave the order, and the fleet began their final push. But just as victory seemed close, the Empire's fleet launched a devastating counterattack. Admiral Valora, in a last-ditch effort to crush the humans, ordered all of her remaining ships to focus on the Phoenix fleet. It was a massive, desperate move. Empire ships converged, overwhelming the human forces. Energy beams tore through space, cutting down several human warships in seconds. The Empire's firepower was intense, and the humans were being pushed back. But Marcus refused to give up. His face was a mask of focus as he watched the enemy fleet's movements. He could see their formation shifting. An opening, a weakness in their defenses. "Now," he shouted to his crew, "take them down." It was a final, risky move, a full-speed, all-out assault on the Empire flagship. But Marcus knew that this was their only chance. If they didn't strike now, they would be wiped out. The fleet surged forward, with humanity's warships moving faster than ever before. As they drew closer, The tension in the air was unbearable. Every ship was at the edge of its capabilities, every pilot pushing themselves to the limits. Marcus's heart raced as the flagship loomed before them. This was it, victory or death. The human fleet, battered and bruised, closed in on the dreadnought. With the Empire's fleet closing in from all sides, Marcus had one last trick up his sleeve. He ordered the fleet to break formation, scattering their ships across multiple fronts, making it harder for the Empire to focus their fire on a single target. This would give them a final window of opportunity to destroy the flagship. But the Empire wasn't going down without a fight. As the humans closed in on their target, Admiral Valora prepared to launch a massive plasma strike, one powerful enough to destroy everything in its path. It was the final weapon, and if it hit, it would annihilate humanity's fleet. The tension was unbearable. If Marcus couldn't disable the strike in time, everything would be lost. Just as the Empire's plasma strike was fired, the Phoenix fleet's final assault hit the dreadnought. Explosions erupted across the flagship as its engines went critical. Humanity had struck the decisive blow. The dreadnought exploded in a blinding flash of light, and the Empire's fleet began to scatter. The human fleet had won, but the cost was high. Elena Carter was gone, and many more had fallen in the battle. Yet, the Empire's hold over the galaxy had been broken. For Admiral Marcus Kane, the battle was over, but the war was not yet won. The loss of Elena would forever haunt him, but her sacrifice would not be in vain. The human fleet had won a pivotal victory, and now they were ready for the next challenge. As the smoke of battle cleared and the survivors regrouped, Marcus Kane stood on the bridge of his flagship. The Empire's flagship was gone, and the galaxy was forever changed. Humanity had struck back, but the fight was far from over. The Empire would come again, but this time, humanity would be ready. They had tasted victory, and they would never stop fighting for their freedom. The final battle had arrived. After weeks of planning and sacrifices, the human fleet was ready to launch their most ambitious attack yet, against the Empire's flagship. The stakes had never been higher. The Empire had tried to crush them once before, but now, humanity had gained a new sense of purpose, and they were determined to take the fight directly to the heart of the Empire. As the Phoenix fleet emerged from the shadows of the asteroid fields, the human forces were ready. Their ships had been equipped with advanced technology, cloaking devices, AI-assisted strategies, and railguns. Everything they needed to take down a fleet far superior in both size and power. The Empire's flagship, the mighty dreadnought, awaited them, a massive vessel floating ominously in the vast emptiness of space. It was the embodiment of the Empire's might, heavily armored, bristling with weapons, and protected by near-impenetrable shields. But the humans weren't about to back down. They had come too far to lose now. As the human fleet made its way toward the dreadnought, they knew the Empire would not let them simply approach without a fight. Admiral Valora, commander of the Empire's fleet, had already ordered her forces to deploy in full strength. The Empire's warships, sleek and powerful, filled the space around the dreadnought like a wall of steel, prepared to crush any resistance. Admiral Marcus Kane stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Phoenix. His eyes scanned the vast expanse of space, looking out at the enemy fleet. The tension was palpable. This battle would decide the fate of humanity. "We can't take them head-on," Marcus said to his crew, his voice steady but filled with resolve. "We need to use their arrogance against them." The humans had always been outnumbered, but their guerrilla tactics, combined with their AI strategies and the newly developed cloaking devices, gave them a fighting chance. Marcus' plan was simple: strike quickly, with precision, and disappear into the shadows before the Empire had a chance to retaliate. It was a risky move, but it was their only option. The human ships powered up their engines and entered cloaking mode, disappearing from the Empire's sensors. From the shadows of the asteroid fields, the humans launched a surprise attack, firing their railguns at the Empire's ships with deadly accuracy. The first shots hit their targets with explosive force. Empire ships exploded into fireballs, their shields useless against the railgun rounds. The Empire's fleet was thrown into disarray as the human forces struck again and again, disappearing into the asteroid fields as quickly as they appeared. The Empire responded by launching counterattacks, but the humans had anticipated this. The asteroids provided natural cover, allowing them to stay hidden while continuing to strike from unexpected angles. Explosions rang out as the two fleets clashed in the blackness of space. It was a battle like no other, fast, brutal, and unrelenting. The human fleet, smaller but more agile, was using the terrain to its advantage. The dreadnought fired its main weapons, launching massive energy blasts that shook the very fabric of space. The human ships maneuvered quickly, dodging the blasts with skillful precision. Each ship moved in perfect harmony, using the asteroid fields to protect them from the devastating power of the Empire's guns. As the battle raged on, Elena Carter, the lead scientist and strategist behind the humans' cloaking technology, knew they needed to disable the dreadnought's shields to have any hope of success. Her prototype AI weapon was the only thing that could do it, but it was a weapon of last resort, dangerous, untested, and capable of devastating consequences. Elena's heart raced as she prepared the weapon for launch. She had always known this moment would come, but she didn't know if she was ready for it. Still, she pushed her doubts aside. This was their only chance. The human fleet was relying on her. "I got the shot," Elena said, her voice calm but strained. Launching the weapon now. She fired the AI weapon at the dreadnought, watching as the powerful pulse shot through space. For a moment, everything seemed to stop. The weapon collided with the flagship's shields, and then the shields faltered. They began to fail, flickering weakly, and then, with a final surge of energy, the dreadnought's shields went down. Humanity had achieved the impossible. The dreadnought was vulnerable. But the victory was short-lived. As Elena watched the success of her mission, a massive counterattack came from the Empire. One of the Empire's destroyers fired a direct shot at Elena's ship, striking it with unimaginable force. Elena's ship shook violently as she was thrown from her seat. "Elena," Marcus cried over the comms, but the signal was already starting to fade. Elena's ship had been torn apart. Her death struck the human fleet like a thunderbolt. Elena had been their heart. Her vision had been the reason they'd come this far. Her sacrifice would never be forgotten. But it also meant that their mission had become far more personal. The humans, now more determined than ever, fought with fury. Elena's death was a rallying cry, a reminder of everything they stood to lose if they failed. Just as humanity thought they were on the verge of victory, Admiral Valora had one last trick up her sleeve. Despite the loss of the dreadnought's shields, she was not about to give up easily. From the command deck of the flagship, she launched a devastating counterattack. A wave of Empire warships appeared from the far side of the asteroid field, flanking the human fleet. The humans were caught off guard. The Empire had been hiding its forces, waiting for the right moment to strike. "Brace for impact," Marcus ordered, his voice tense. The battle that had already seemed impossible was now a fight for survival. The humans, now down a significant portion of their fleet, tried to reorganize and regroup. The Empire's superior numbers threatened to overwhelm them. Marcus knew this was a critical moment. If they couldn't stop the Empire now, all would be lost. The Empire's fleet closed in, their weapons charging for the final blow. But Marcus had one final card to play. He had learned from the AI-assisted strategies they had used throughout the battle. He knew that the only way to survive was to make a calculated risk, and it had to be done quickly. "On my mark," Marcus said, gripping the controls tightly. "All ships, break formation and engage the enemy with everything we've got." The human fleet split into smaller groups, charging directly at the Empire's warships. Their cloaking devices flickered as they reappeared out of the shadows, attacking from unexpected angles. The Empire was momentarily stunned by the sudden shift, giving the humans just enough time to strike back. In the chaos, The Empire's flagship began to retreat, trying to escape the human assault. Marcus knew this was their chance. He ordered his fleet to focus all their firepower on the retreating dreadnought. With Alina's weapon disabling the shields, the humans could finally pierce the heart of the Empire's might. As the human ships closed in on the flagship, Marcus took one last glance at his crew. He had lost so much already, but he was willing to sacrifice everything to ensure humanity's survival. The final barrage of firepower hit the dreadnought with a force that shook space itself. Explosions erupted across the Empire's flagship, and its engines began to fail. With a final, deafening crash, the dreadnought's core imploded, sending a shockwave through the battlefield. The Empire's fleet scattered as the dreadnought was destroyed. Victory was theirs, but the cost had been immense. The human fleet had survived, but they had lost many in the process. Alina's death weighed heavily on everyone, but as the remaining ships regrouped, it was clear that humanity had struck a blow to the Empire that would never be forgotten. "We did it," Marcus whispered, staring out at the wreckage of the battlefield. The fight wasn't over, but the humans had proven something important. They were not to be underestimated. Humanity had finally stood up to the Empire and had won. But as they moved forward, they knew that the road ahead would be filled with challenges. The Empire would not let them go easily. Yet, for the first time, humanity had a fighting chance. The final battle was upon them. Humanity had already proven itself capable of incredible feats, but now, standing at the precipice of a true victory, the cost of this war weighed heavily on everyone. The death of Alina Carter, the loss of so many brave soldiers, and the sacrifices they had made were all etched into Marcus Kane's mind. As he stared out at the glowing expanse of space, he couldn't help but wonder if it had all been worth it. But there was no turning back now. The Empire's flagship, the once imposing dreadnought, loomed in the distance, now battered and broken from the previous battles. Yet, its power was far from extinguished. The ship, though wounded, still harbored deadly weapons and a fleet of warships eager to avenge their fallen comrades. But this time, Marcus was ready. The humans were not only fighting for survival, they were fighting for a future, for the chance to live free from the oppressive rule of the Empire. The human fleet had suffered greatly, but they were far from broken. The loss of Alina, their brilliant scientist and strategist, had fueled a fire in their hearts. As Marcus looked around at his fleet, he saw a mix of determination and grief in their eyes. They knew what needed to be done. They knew the stakes, and most importantly, they knew they had the willpower to succeed. "We are the underdogs," Marcus said over the comms, his voice calm but filled with a quiet fury. "We've already defied the odds. Now, let's finish this. For Alina. For Earth." With a deep breath, Marcus gave the order to attack. The human ships once again cloaked themselves and surged forward, moving into formation. The Empire's fleet, still reeling from the previous battle, had regrouped and was preparing for the final clash. The dreadnought, despite its weakened state, still had a full complement of weapons, and its massive cannons were ready to fire. But Marcus knew that the key to this final battle would not lie in brute strength. It would lie in tactical brilliance and the element of surprise. The human fleet had learned from their past mistakes. They had perfected their use of guerrilla tactics, and now it was time to use everything they had learned to outsmart their technologically superior foes. The Empire's fleet was large, but it was also predictable. The humans had an advantage. They were smaller, faster, and far more adaptable. Marcus had devised a plan that would strike at the heart of the dreadnought. Using cloaking technology, the human ships slipped silently through the darkness of space, positioning themselves around the Empire's flagship. From their positions, they launched a series of surprise attacks, striking key targets on the Empire's warships. The Empire's fleet, caught off guard, scrambled to respond. Explosions rippled through the dark void of space as the humans took down key weapon systems and crippled the Empire's smaller ships. But it was the flagship that remained the ultimate target. Marcus knew that without taking down the dreadnought's core, victory would be meaningless. He also knew the dangers of such an attack. The flagship's core was heavily protected, and if they failed, the humans would be facing annihilation. The human strategy was flawless. They combined their AI-assisted tactics with fast, coordinated strikes, ensuring that the Empire's forces could not predict their movements. The human ships darted in and out of the battlefield, attacking from unexpected angles and causing chaos in the Empire's lines. Marcus, his mind sharp and focused, watched as his fleet pushed forward. The Empire was struggling to respond to the human fleet's unpredictability. The Empire's ships, once a symbol of unstoppable power, now seemed vulnerable. The humans had learned from their mistakes, and they were now a force to be reckoned with. Amid the chaos of the battle, Marcus found himself staring once again at the dreadnought, the flagship that had brought so much suffering to humanity. He knew this was it. This was the moment that would define everything. As the human fleet continued to engage the Empire's forces, Marcus made a painful decision. The Empire's flagship had been crippled, but it was not yet destroyed. The dreadnought's core still pulsed with power, and if they didn't destroy it now, it could recover and continue to fight. But Marcus knew that any attempt to destroy the core would come with immense risks. It would take everything they had, and it would require a sacrifice. Alina had already given her life for the cause. Could he ask the same of his crew? The answer came without hesitation. "Everyone, listen up," Marcus shouted. "We're going to destroy the dreadnought's core. We'll take down the heart of the Empire. But this will be our final assault. If we fail, we will not get another chance." The entire fleet was silent. They understood. This was the end. As the human ships made their final approach, Marcus gave the order to concentrate their fire on the dreadnought's core. The battle had taken everything from them. The sacrifice of so many good soldiers, Alina, Bonner, and countless others, was now about to come full circle. This was the moment where the humans would either destroy the Empire or become a footnote in the galaxy's history. The battle around the dreadnought was like nothing anyone had ever seen before. Explosions filled the space around them as the two fleets clashed. But now, the humans were in control. They had taken the Empire's flagship by surprise, and their tactics were beginning to overwhelm the remaining warships. The dreadnought was at the center of the storm, its shields flickering in and out as the human fleet bombarded it with everything they had. The core of the flagship, though still strong, was showing signs of damage. The Empire's fleet tried to regroup, but it was too late. Marcus could see the end approaching, and he could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on him. His ship, the Phoenix, was surrounded by flames and chaos. The human fleet was closing in on the dreadnought's core, ready for the final blow. With a deep breath, Marcus issued the final command. "Target the core. All ships, fire." The human fleet unleashed a massive wave of energy, a coordinated strike that sent shockwaves through the dreadnought's hull. The flagship's core exploded in a blinding flash of light, sending debris flying in all directions. The shockwave rippled through space, causing a momentary silence across the battlefield. Then, the Empire's flagship was no more. As the remnants of the dreadnought drifted through space, the humans knew they had won. The Empire's fleet was crippled, its once imposing strength shattered. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted, but the victory came at a cost. The human fleet was severely damaged, and countless lives had been lost. Alina's death still haunted Marcus, but he knew she had given everything for this cause. It had been her genius that had brought them to this moment, and her sacrifice had been the spark that ignited their final victory. As the human ships regrouped, the remaining survivors looked at the wreckage of the battlefield, knowing that the war was over. For now, the Empire had fallen, but there would be no time for celebration. The humans had won, but they also had to rebuild, to heal, and to prepare for whatever challenges the galaxy might throw at them next. Marcus stood at the front of his ship, watching as the wreckage of the Empire's forces drifted away. The battle was over, But the war was far from done. The future of humanity was uncertain, but one thing was clear. They had proven that they could stand against the might of the Empire. And they had won. The galaxy would never be the same again. The battle had been long and brutal, but now, in the aftermath of the Empire's fall, Earth stood victorious. The Empire, once an unstoppable force, lay shattered, its fleets decimated, its power broken. Humanity had risen from the ashes of destruction, having proven its resilience, its ability to endure in the face of overwhelming odds. For Earth, this wasn't just a victory, it was a rebirth. After years of oppression, after countless losses, the humans had struck a blow that reverberated throughout the galaxy. But while the victory was sweet, it came at a cost. The loss of so many brave soldiers, the sacrifice of comrades, had left deep scars. Yet despite the pain, Earth stood stronger than ever. As the remnants of the Empire's fleet drifted through space, there was a quiet, unspoken understanding that things would never be the same. Humanity had broken the chains of fear that had once bound them, proving they could not only survive but prevail against a far superior enemy. The human fleet, battered but unbroken, now stood as a symbol of resilience. Earth's warships, once outmatched and outclassed by the Empire's mighty vessels, now became the face of resistance. They were a beacon of hope for those who had lived under the boot of the Empire for far too long. Marcus Kane, the commander of the human fleet, stood among his crew, his heart heavy with the weight of the loss, but filled with the fire of triumph. He had led them through the fire, and now they had emerged victorious. The human fleet had become a symbol not just for Earth, but for freedom itself. Across the galaxy, planets that had been oppressed, civilizations that had been crushed under the Empire's rule, began to take notice. Whispers of humanity's victory spread like wildfire, and with it, the hope that perhaps they, too, could rise. Humanity had proven they could defeat the odds, that their will to fight, to survive, and to protect what they loved was greater than any technological advantage the Empire could wield. But victory was not just about surviving. It was about rebuilding and moving forward. As Earth began the slow process of recovery, Marcus Kane knew that their journey was far from over. The Empire might have been defeated, but the galaxy was vast, and there would always be those who would seek to exploit the weak. Humanity had made its mark, but now, it was up to them to ensure their place in this new universe. In a quiet corner of the galaxy, light years away from Earth, an alien council sat in a darkened room. The members of this council, representatives of various galactic civilizations, watched a holographic display of the recent events. They had seen the rise of humanity, and they understood the significance of what had just occurred. The Empire, once the greatest power in the galaxy, had been defeated by humans, a race they had long underestimated. "We have underestimated them," one of the alien leaders said, his voice a low rumble in the stillness. "The humans are far more dangerous than we ever imagined." Another council member nodded in agreement. They fought the Empire and won. Now, they are a force to be reckoned with. We cannot afford to ignore them any longer. The hologram shifted, showing the faces of Marcus Kane and other human commanders, their expressions resolute as they celebrated their victory. But the message was clear. Humanity had become a power in the galaxy. The council members exchanged concerned looks. The Empire may have been defeated, but that didn't mean the threat to humanity was over. The balance of power had shifted, and new challenges would arise. The galaxy was far from peaceful, and humanity was now in the spotlight. Would other civilizations see them as a threat, or would they try to form alliances with Earth, hoping to avoid the wrath of their rising power? As the Council's discussion continued, the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The galaxy, once ruled by the Empire, was now looking to Earth, and what it would do next. Back on Earth, amidst the rebuilding efforts and the stories of bravery that would go down in history, Marcus Kane stood alone on the observation deck of his ship. He gazed out into the vast expanse of space, his eyes tracing the distant stars. The battle was over. The Empire had fallen. But the war had never truly been about defeating one enemy. It had always been about survival. And now, humanity had to continue to fight, not just to live, but to thrive. He thought of all the fallen soldiers, of Elena Carter, and of the countless others who had given everything for this moment. The victory they had earned was bittersweet, but it was theirs. They had proven, once and for all, that humanity would not be subjugated. As the stars stretched out before him, Marcus whispered to himself, "We will never kneel again." The words echoed in his mind, filling him with a sense of determination. The galaxy might have been a vast, unpredictable place, but Earth had shown it could stand tall against the greatest powers in the universe. And now, humanity had made it clear that they would never back down, no matter the odds. His gaze hardened as he looked at the stars. The victory was just the beginning. There were still dangers out there, new threats, new challenges that Earth would have to face. The Empire's fall was just one chapter in a long and complicated story. There would be no time for rest. "We'll be ready," Marcus said aloud, his voice unwavering. Humanity's rise had been marked by sacrifice, determination, and the unwavering belief that freedom was worth fighting for. Earth had gone from being a quiet, isolated planet to one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy. But with power came responsibility. The humans knew their victory was not the end. They had faced the Empire, and they had won. But the galaxy was vast, and it had many secrets yet to be uncovered. There were alien civilizations, both peaceful and warlike, and Marcus knew that humanity would have to navigate this complex web of relationships carefully. There were more enemies out there. There were more challenges to face. But Earth had learned something important. They could fight. They had the strength to overcome obstacles, to rise above their limits, and to carve out their place in the stars. As Marcus walked away from the observation deck, he couldn't help but feel the weight of what lay ahead. But he also felt a deep sense of pride. The humans had proven their worth. They had proven they were stronger than anyone had believed. With Earth now standing tall as a symbol of resistance, the future was uncertain. But one thing was clear. Humanity was ready for whatever came next. And the galaxy, for better or worse, would never forget them.